Okay, for people joining our live stream, this is the amazingly fourth consecutive live stream meeting today. This one is our last live stream meeting for the day. Not my last meeting of the day, by a long way, I should say. But this one is about visualization. So let's take a look. Discrete plot.
So that's fairly straightforward. It's an overhaul.
Did this not work before?
No. There's an actual thing that has to be done to support scaling and labeling.
Oh, wait a minute. This is, hold on. This is, oh, I see. Can I combine these?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that should, okay, fine. So which plots don't yet have support for these things?
I mean, scaling functions is probably about halfway through.
Okay.
So we haven't yet done region plot and
plot 3D and so on.
Plot 3D is
okay.
And so I think we've got most of the ones where you have f of some domain.
What about parametric plots?
Parametric plot, not yet.
Yeah, that's going to have some extra issues.
Right.
Okay. Okay, this looks fine. Okay, discrete plot 3D.
Same story.
Yeah.
Do we have callouts in 3D?
We do, but I don't have any really good compelling examples. I mean, it works, but nothing that has really looked great. And right. So that's the list point plot 3D case, which also works.
Right, I understand. So I'm gonna say call out of hash comma just be more exotic. Oh, I love that times sign. Okay, so that's going to make a bunch of call outs, and then I'm going to say list point plot 3D. Oh, that's really cool.
Right, and we had that in 11.3.
Yeah, I remember actually, because we used that for
feature space plot 3D.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. Okay. All right. Plot markers.
So this is mainly fixing a whole bunch of bugs. And what we have now is that the plot markers are going to better follow the style of the curve that they're on. And we added some more names.
What is this stuff here?
Size. Default marker, how big it is.
That is a very bizarre size specification.
If you think so.
What does that mean? It's some number of pixels, right?
Yep.
I think we should consider saying something like, first of all, we should consider having pixels as a unit. Why don't we do that?
It might work.
What happens if we say 7 pixels or something?
I agree with you. I don't think most people, unless they are very familiar with the graphics language, knows that offset is the way to get pixels.
It's totally obscure.
Yeah, it was probably from 1.0.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we might also want a wrapper that does this, but I think that this having 7 pixels work would be a good idea.
So that's obviously
a quantity object.
Right, but obviously will not work now because that needs to work in graphics.
That's an independent unit. So that's not actually a thing that plays nice with yeah, we should talk to the quantity object.
Yeah. Does it like points?
Printers points?
Yeah.
I think it seems to like that better. Desktop publishing. I don't know. It does like it better, but that's kind of, I see. Desktop publishing points means it's not printers points, which is 1/72 of an inch, which is an absolute unit.
So to be clear, Stephen, if you wanted a different name just here for these functions, that would be easy. If you want to change the graphics language, that's a more substantial change.
Right, and I'm not sure that those are different. I suspect that those are actually the same. Or unless pixels is, you know, 1/4, you know, half of a publishing point on a retina screen or whatever.
Sorry, I got distracted for a second. Could you repeat?
Well, I was trying to decide, you know, whether pixels and points, you know, would be the same thing, or
no, it's a giant can of worms.
Display.
You know, it's possible that we should actually have, you know, absolute display size, blah, 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 because we may have to annotate it in all kinds of complicated ways. Or actually displayed size, analogous to scaled. See what I'm saying? So then we could give, because I mean, again, there's going to be complicated things. You know, do you account for the retina display? Do you account for the fact that it's a projector that's projecting a 100-foot wide image? Those kinds of things, right? You get this sort of stupid thing. I mean, this was the thing that we were considering having units in the front end like millions of years ago. And we do have, so there is a unit system in the front end, I believe. Do you know how it works? Not convincingly. Listen, I recommend that we look at having something called displayed size, and that we reinvestigate the unit system in the front end and merging. I mean, this was a thing we planned like 15, 20 years ago, to merge the effective unit system that exists in the front end with this. And we never got around to it. And I think maybe now's the time. I mean, it'll take a while to propagate that thing through the whole system, but I think that's yeah. I like the term displayed size. Which
You're taking notes, right, Brett? You're taking notes, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's, you know, it goes along with absolute point size and things, but it, you know, displayed size is. It might even be absolute displayed size, but I think displayed size is reasonable. And it goes along with scaled.
And where exactly would displayed size be used?
Right there, for example. It's a way of saying, I mean, this offset thing is a crazy thing that people don't understand, particularly one argument form of offset is really kind of nutso.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, that's my suggestion there. So here, plot markers, what is plot markers doing? Is plot markers having a first element of that list that is the style and the second element is the size, or what?
Yes. So the automatic there means use different shapes for different curves or different set of points.
Yeah. You know, I have to say, the concept of having a wrapper that means display this thing at a certain size, it's like inset, isn't it? I mean, this is really like saying inset this graphic with this size.
Mm-hmm.
Might even actually be using inset, I don't know.
In this case, yes.
Right, so inset, oh, I see, that has a position. So really what we want is something, I mean, better than this weird list thing would be something that has, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I don't think you want inset. I think you want.
No, you want something which is represents a thing. You want something that represents. Okay, so this is a thing that is a unit of size, effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And there could be a quantity analog of that. The next thing you want is display at size, or sized.
Mm-hmm.
Thing, comma, size. So it's analogous to inset, but it's a positionless inset, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and arguably, you should be able to do things like say inset of sized of whatever, and then that sized would pick up the fourth argument of inset.
Right.
So Sandra on our live stream asks, are plot meters finally going to be replaced by graphics primitives rather than insetting pieces of text?
Yes.
That was needed to, they can be off, as you probably, everybody who's used them, the first generation system, which used, the typesetting is not precise enough, it's off by a pixel, and it creates this jarring plots.
Sorry, I'm just trying to remember where I put this information in ILD. Hold on a second. I got background noise, by the way. Okay. 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 All right. So listen, I think these are important directions. These things here, displayed size and sized. So can we make sure we come back to those in, are you going to remember that, Brett?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
Yep.
Oh, that's a big improvement.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. These are nice. Now, I assume that one wants by default to change both the color and the marker style. Yeah, I guess so.
I think so.
Okay. I don't know. For some reason, these always look like so 1980s, these things with plot markers. But anyway, never mind. And
it
presumably,
depends on how many points you have.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of, just of that form of visualization. But
I don't think that I think they've sort of come back in style with information visualization and dashboards and other things. People use them a lot.
Yeah. Well, we're supporting a nice version of them, so let's be happy.
Yep.
Okay. Labeling. Oh, cool. Okay.
Okay, so there's, some of these are small features, some of them are slightly bigger features. So that is the current, that's the new behavior. And this is probably the subtlest of the features, is that so for 3D labels, when we compute their position, their automatic position, it's geared toward the initial viewpoint. So stuff's not jumping around or trying to adjust as you rotate. And in 11.3, it was not taking perspective into account, and now it is.
Magnificent. Can I see the difference?
Well, you have them there, but it's very subtle.
If you reset that one back to its original viewpoint, right-click, default view.
Okay, I believe you. I believe you. But it's actually an important point that we should document for people, that the labeling is rendered at the time of the initial, in other words, the viewpoint, if you interactively change viewpoint, you will not get the correct labeling. Mm-hmm. And arguably, there should be a way, even in the right-click menu, to relabel it. if you understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure how easy or hard that would be.
Okay, just a suggestion. I don't think
Yep.
it's critical. Sander
That's
has
something we can
exclamation
put down.
marks, appreciating the fact that the mesh is in the same color. Okay, he's asking about feature space plot and how big the images are in the feature space plot. We do have a way of controlling that, don't we?
Labeling size.
Okay. Is that documented nicely in feature space plot?
It should be.
Okay, maybe you can check.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on.
Okay, so this is going to be subtle, or somewhat subtle. Okay, so let's see which was which. Okay, so the first one we have, so all 20 of these plots have the same points, the same labels.
Yeah, it's a question of which labels get actually rendered based on. I think it should be called label priority, not label weight.
Maybe.
I think label weight suggests what I thought you meant by that was boldface versus whatever else.
I see. Label priority is fine.
Well, does it go the right way around? Bigger numbers are more priority?
Bigger numbers are more priority. It can be infinite, and basically,
is that right?
Priority beats no priority.
Unfortunately, is priority 1 tends to mean the top priority.
Right.
See, weight is the wrong thing because weight suggests they'll all be rendered. It's something like priority or weight label. It's not ordering again.
Weight in terms of what's more important, less important, has the same problem as priority. Sometimes it depends on perspective, and unfortunately, all of them are used.
Rank?
No.
Or in ranking, or
no, because that has the same problem again.
Yeah,
rank 1 is the top rank.
Importance?
Yeah. Precedence?
Maybe.
Or preference? Label preference?
Not preference.
Label precedence.
Precedence doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound right. I think priority sounds okay. We just have to say, what, higher numbers are more important. As opposed to lower numbers are more important.
Yeah, Sandra on live stream is suggesting label preference value. I don't think it really helps anything. Yeah, I did think about importance being suggested on the live stream by Brian. Importance. I think importance is yeah, preference you didn't like, right? I mean, we've got. I don't know quite what preference means. I mean, preference 3 doesn't really usually mean anything, whereas priority 3 does. The notion that there is a numerical priority makes some sense. I don't even remember in Unix priorities, like nice, are larger numbers are lower, right?
Yes.
Yes.
By the way, is it obvious that we've got the numbering the right way around here? Do we actually want higher numbers to be more important?
I mean, if you want to go the other way, I don't think, it shouldn't be a major code change.
No, I understand, but which is right? I mean, to me, it makes more sense to say it's a more important label. I don't know. Importance is not. Importance suggests too much importance to the whole thing.
Right. I mean, I guess I'm thinking of a lot of things where like labeling planets or stars or something, where you're going to have some property that.
Yeah, like the more massive ones should get higher priority or something.
Yes.
But there you just said it, higher priority.
Ha 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 ha. Okay, so the term is higher priority is bigger numbers, which does make some sense when you say it that way.
I'll make a note of that.
Okay. So does this work? I mean, this priority mechanism?
Yes.
What
So
do you mean?
what is this doing? So this is doing for. I see. So this is showing which. Why isn't this making me see only the 20s and things?
I mean, so the bottom one where you have the weights, the 20 always wins over everything else.
There's one where we don't have the weights. Was I not paying attention here? What is this? I'm sorry. What is this doing?
Okay, so we have a bunch of random points, and point 1 has weight 1, priority 1.
I can see that, but this is
et cetera. And so right now, if they don't have any priorities, then it's sort of whichever one you comes first.
Yeah, right. But so here, why am I not just seeing?
Because location matters, Stephen.
Okay, location matters.
Right. I mean, so this doesn't force a label to appear. It settles, if this point collides with that point, or the
we're about to see forced labeling, which is what Sandra is asking about on our live stream, is can you force the labels to appear?
Which is what the next section is.
Okay.
And so we have 2 settings here. I think we only need 1. So right now we have, which option is this? This is, essentially these are places within like placed or labeling, although we have syntactic shortcuts for it, which is labeling function goes to true and labeling function goes to, or call it, true and all. True will allow labels to overlap, but it won't allow a label to overlap a point.
Okay.
And all, anything goes.
Okay, but why is this a third argument to call out? Why is this not an option? I mean, I understand there's a local version of this which says what that particular label should do, but don't we also want a global version that says, oh, I just want all the labels?
Yes, and in that case, you would say labeling function goes to
what?
All or true.
We don't have that yet, do we?
I think so. I mean, we certainly have labeling function.
No, I understand, but do we have labeling function goes to all?
It should. Okay, I don't know that I've tested that, at least not recently.
Okay, well, let's try it. Oh, that's just this. Never mind.
So why isn't that?
Okay, so let me just add more.
But it just made it a little nervous there because it didn't work as advertised. Okay, are you using external first of all?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so hold on. So then this here.
There was a branch problem there, Brett. Don't you think?
There was something there.
Well, okay, so labeling function arrow all. Okay, well, that's a good sign. That's a good sign that it did something different.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, do labeling function goes to above. Just for.
Oh, okay.
I wonder why it didn't.
Those numbers are very, very weird. Well, okay, so these are bugs, but the point is here.
Right. The point is that labeling function, is the global way of saying where do you want something. And I'm thinking of, the forced labeling is basically, so the automatic labeling is we figure out what the position is, and if necessary, we drop the label.
Yeah, I understand, but why is a pause? Wait a minute. Data, expr, and position. Why is the third argument, why is position being true? I don't understand why positioning true has anything to do with anything here. That seems like a hack. I mean, because you've got above, below, you might want to say it's above and below, and I want it to overlap. See what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that if you specify above, that it's going to put it above, even if it collides.
Well, okay.
I mean, so I'm open to other ideas on.
Yeah. So this is saying where it is. It's not saying whether it appears.
Well, I mean, where it is very general.
Yeah, but not appearing at all existentially where it is not the best, it seems to me.
Maybe. I mean, and generally in the case where it gets dropped because it would have collided, its place becomes tooltip. It's a very liberal interpretation of place.
Someone is asking on the live stream, what is the difference between the label weights or label priorities and the ones without label priorities? Good question. What is the difference between this and this?
Between which and which?
And when there is no label, there is no weight, they all have uniform weight.
So what?
That means that you can't have a preference. You can't put higher priority on some things. If there comes to a choice between two labels, it's sort of random which one gets dropped.
No, I understand. But why am I not seeing something where there's much more weighting towards bigger numbers in the second case?
Because location matters. Location matters.
Okay, well, so if I do this, for example.
I mean, that won't matter. Because
all that matters is the ordering.
All that matters is the ordering.
Is that obviously correct? It's not obvious to me that would be the right optimization.
What did you want instead?
What did that?
I don't know. I'm thinking. Well, it may not work because whatever bug this is.
Yeah. I mean, so what happens is, the weights really only matter when there would be collisions. Right. So if 19 and 20 are right next to each other and would collide, then only one of them can win.
Look, by the way, in terms of this overwrite forced labeling, basically label priority arrow infinity or something like that. Being able to put label priority, being able to say, right there, what is the, you get what I'm saying? In other words, it seems to me it's a gradation, it's a continuous thing. If you give it a numerical priority, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it will be sorted according to the numerical priority. But there are sort of out of priority things, like just always display this. I don't care where, what happens, just always display it where you think you should display it. So there's a difference between infinity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And always display it.
Correct. These are two separate axes.
No, I get it, but I'm saying that this option, label priority, particularly if it had a slightly different name, would be, if it had a name that was along the lines of label forcing, and then it's true or false, or true, false, or automatic, okay, force this label, so to speak, right? And then it's if it's false, it just makes it into a tooltip. If it's true, it forces the label. And if it's a number, that defines a priority.
Oh, so you want to unify forced?
I want to unify forced and priority, because I think priority is a subtle and minority thing. Because after all, as you say, it's rather algorithm dependent, it's rather location dependent, and it's going to be somewhat obscure. And that's a case where,
I agree with you. I think that would be are there
Right.
other consequences, Brett? But conceptually, in terms of the story for the user, it makes perfect sense.
I'm trying to think real quick. Let's see. So true, false, and a number.
Well, okay. So
I mean, it could work. I mean, I'm thinking something like label visibility or.
yeah, I think that's good.
That's a better name.
Yeah, it is a better name. Visibility. Yeah, label visible. Label visible, label visibility. Visibility suggests there might be a setting other than just true or false. Yeah, I think label visibility seems reasonable.
Yeah, and it's true, false, or probably automatic also is the default.
Yeah. True, false, automatic, and number. Higher number means.
People are complaining, by the way, that our 3D feature space plot 3D is too slow. Do you have any comments on that?
My experience is that any slowness in the feature space plots tends to be on the feature extraction dimension reduced side.
Somebody is pointing to a feature space plots. Somebody is pointing to a.
I wonder if I vaguely recall that there was something that was missing that was getting in later to seriously speed up dimension reduce and those things there.
Yes, there is. I mean, I think, dimension reduction, and there's some new algorithms for this TSNE algorithm and so on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I like label visibility, true, false, automatic, or a number.
Combines these two things.
Yep.
Sounds good. Okay. And the people on the live stream, if you have a feature space example or feature space plot example that you think is slow, send it to support, and I'm sure it will get.
Or put it in our live stream right now, and we'll make sure it actually goes to the right person.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure how big the example is.
Yes. Okay. Okay, visualization functions supporting labeling. When do we get filling for parametric plots, or is it an undefined concept?
That's an undefined concept. We've been down that road.
What?
We've been down that road many times.
I was going to say, it still doesn't stop me from trying to figure out how to make it work once a year or something.
Isn't it really the main issue? Isn't it the extraction of the function to feed in? How parametric region would give you the region that you could then do things with. Is that correct, Roger?
Yes. Yes.
So that's really the right way to think about it. And maybe we should have some, in properties and relations of parametric.
But it's a little bit different, okay? When you say, this actually we're going to have a big meeting on polygons, and you'll learn everything about sort of how to define fills.
Good.
Okay, it takes a little bit of build up. In the end,
I'm sorry that I something goes through my mind that unfortunately we don't have any developer whose name is Phil working in this area. Otherwise, we could have this beautiful nominative determinism of that feature.
Right.
Okay, onward, please.
Yeah.
Please go on. Yeah.
So I don't want to derail us because it will take, we're going to hit it a little bit later.
Right. Okay, we have an example from our live stream, which I agree is going to fail. I'm not even going to do this for I'm just going to say, I mean, what would happen here? So let's just try, for example, random sample 200 or something. We're grinding. Well, the good news is there's a horrible bug, but
yeah, it's living on the wild. So for those on the stream, that software we work on daily, it has interesting features every day.
Right. So
especially when you have the soup that is the prototype
UMAP algorithm. What is the UMAP algorithm? Do we know what the UMAP algorithm is? Is that an algorithm for the feature space layout, or is that an algorithm for rendering? Okay, this requires investigation. Can we feed who's?
I'll take a look at it and feed it to.
I mean, we might want to feed it to Etienne. Yes, Andrea is PMing. So if you can feed this UMAP thing to Etienne and Matteo, and look at this.
Matteo and who?
Etienne. Machine learning folks. Okay. So we just saw this before, right? You showed me this at the beginning,
right.
This call out, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
But for some reason, this isn't working here, isn't it?
I don't recommend trying. I'm not sure why that one isn't labeled. But,
okay, well, whatever. Doesn't matter. But it now works, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay.
Stream plot. Oh wow, there's a lot of exciting stuff here, guys. All right, what should I see with GeoStream plots? Doesn't that require this GeoVector thing that?
Yes,
it greatly benefits from GeoVector.
So I don't think, have I reviewed GeoVector yet? I don't think so.
No, not yet.
Should we put the geo stuff in a separate meeting, because we're going to run out of time here, and I think the geo stuff should be reviewed with Jose.
Okay. We'll add it to Jose's geo stuff.
It doesn't matter, Stephen. This can be covered here because it's in terms of making the quality that we want from these plots. Having GeoVector was, and the corresponding computation was very important. It's not really user visible that much.
Okay, but I understand that. But where do I see?
Those have reference page, prototype reference pages. I mean, open source, yeah.
Okay, I mean, I just wonder what's happening. I don't understand. Like, for example, if I have wind vectors which have a certain, such and such a number of miles per hour or something, are you handling units and things in appropriate ways?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at that. It's wind vector data. What do you know? Except those are random reals. Those aren't quantity objects.
I mean, those are positions. I mean, that's just randomly sampling wind over the Earth.
I see. Wind vector data is in miles. So if I say, I'd forgotten we even had this. If I say, for example, wind vector data of here, which probably isn't actually where I am.
You get a pair of miles per hours. Or missing.
Why?
I don't know.
Let's see. I can look out the window here and see what I see here. What does the minus mean?
Well, it's measured, east and north
west.
or something. Right. So that means that it's going west and south or something. I don't remember exactly which way wind vector data is coming out.
I hope it's consistent. That's something. Can we make a note, Andrea, when we get to the geo review? Can we make sure we make sure that that's all correct and consistent? But okay, this is magnificent. Okay, so that's actually very nice. Okay, And the main point is that that's a geo position. I see coordinates and vectors, and that's the way streamplot works as well, right?
Right.
How do you normalize the lengths here if these are in quantities? That it's just relative normalization, right? So
right.
those
I mean,
are in
so what happens is, for the vectors, what you want to do is you want to do the appropriate rotation under whatever map projection, and then make sure that if vector A was twice as long before, that it's still twice as long.
We're going to have to talk about this in geo meeting. Okay. Yep. Okay. Let's come to multi-panel plots, a very exciting thing.
So it's a limited release now, Stephen.
It looks like that garbage. Here is this. Why is that? Why?
I think that's the magnification.
Well, that's a bug, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. Multi-panel.
But I want to say, Stephen, it's a limited. It's the graphics grid. You see what I'm saying? It says next release because there's a lot of more conforming that needs to happen for that. But it's supported in a number of sort of the list line related things like date list plot and things like that.
Why is it putting these labels in all these totally weird places?
So that's a way to optimize when you have a grid to not have too many labels. So you don't, since they have shared x-axis, let's say that the things that are above and below, you don't need to put it everywhere. And that's how you typically do compact arrays.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd want to put it in a consistent place. I mean,
no,
this looks totally bizarre and random.
Well, that's because it's just an arbitrary, it doesn't fit the grid very well. If you have a 3x3 grid of plots, this looks very nice.
Okay, can I run that?
I should be able to.
Oops, I just want to say, what do I say here? Just column?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a single column. So now I say column, comma 3.
Look at that. So what otherwise would happen, Stephen?
Why is there more gutter space between
I noticed that this morning.
That's a bug. That's a bug. Okay, it's a bug. But look here at the bottom, Stephen. Okay, the labels, they would clash into each other otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an example of getting the same information but not overdoing it. So you can have more effective plots.
I think this should be settable, how this works.
It is.
It should be. I don't have a way hooked in through list line plot yet. I need to.
I find it really weird to put this in list line plots, this capability.
I think that that's actually going to be a way that many people get to it. Okay, and the other advantage when you're in a domain like that, you do know that you have sort of shared X and Y axis.
Yeah, I realize that. I realize that. Whereas otherwise, you don't have any idea what.
Right.
Everything's hodgepodge, and you can't make any.
Well, I mean, you can make assumptions that the user coordinates agree, so to speak. Within these plots, you can assume that the user coordinates are aligned.
Yeah.
Yes.
So. And this is certainly,
But by the way, I'm sorry, the automatic plot setting here, if this top row had much bigger values than the bottom rows, you get what I'm saying?
So you can share on a per row basis, you know what I'm saying?
How?
Because you in that top row.
Will it happen by default?
I'm not sure if we want to go down that route.
And what happens with the aspect ratios? I mean, do the aspect ratios in all the panel elements have to be the same?
Right now, yes.
I think they should. Graphics grid is a different story, but I think they should.
I mean, and so like if you add aspect ratio goes to 1, on your list line plot.
By the way, this is an improvement right there. I mean, the fact that those axes line up is very good. That's what you did, right? Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's terrible. This is a major improvement. That's super more useful. That's great. Yeah, I mean, that's a silent change because nobody's going to want this behavior. This behavior is just dopey.
Right.
Well, presumably. Yeah, I think it's dopey.
But there are more cases to sort out for graphics grid before we can sort of say that we're just a lot
Yeah,
more.
I mean, I think we'll get a little bit of graphics grid improvement along the lines of what you see there.
Well, right, but I mean, this is okay. So, and I assume graphics row and graphics column and so on are improved.
They're all the same.
Okay, all right. So let's come back to your functionality here.
I mean, so for 12, what I think we should do for like list line plot and whatever is that, for the most part, options are shared across all the panels. I mean, because the idea of addressing it.
I agree with you. And plot layout is the right place to put this. I agree with that too. Yeah, all right, okay. And this makes sense.
So it's not the full rollout that we want, but I think it's still quite useful.
Yeah, and you need to fix this, whatever this magnification screw up is here.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that.
So does it work for plot as well?
The plan is to support list plot, list line plot, the log variants, date list plot, date list log plot, bar chart, but not plot's not on the initial list.
Okay. I don't think it's as important as these. I mean, I think we're always going to need it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
What's the analog of these things in 3D? I mean, because you can imagine a totally bizarre thing where you have an empaneled plot, and as you rotate it, they all rotate together.
Yes. And I'm not really thinking about those cases at all yet.
Okay.
Other than 3D, here be dragons.
Okay, but that the thing I just mentioned would be a really, really nice feature to be able to rotate together.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so yeah, we thought about that, but so there's just many more things to think about there, and there's more 2D stuff to be done too.
Someone's asking here, can you try adding some frame axes labels? Good question. What happens if you do that? So what happens to frame labels? What happens if I want to label these separate plots? So what happens if I want to do plot label for each of these separate plots?
So go ahead and put, let's see, turn that random reel into an association with.
Well, what if I just say plot label here?
Okay, yeah, plot labels goes to random word of 3. Oh, what's labels? Yeah, so you have a label.
When do we get plot labels plural?
A while ago.
What does it do?
Associates a label with each curve, with each data set.
Oh yeah, right. I see. That's nice. Okay.
So it's extending the frame a little bit and moving the label inside, and then you can still have an overall outer plot label.
Yeah, I get it. That's nice. Okay, so then let me understand. Okay, so what about if I have axes labels?
I don't think I'm doing anything with axes labels yet. It shouldn't be hard to hook up, although axes labels, strictly speaking, won't do anything here because those are frames. Okay, so there's one at the bottom.
Well, there's also one
the left, which is interesting. I'll have to take a look at that.
Okay, so I think there's still some work to do with that, especially if there's. I mean, how would you specify different? Well, the argument would be, how would you specify different frame labels? I mean,
right. I mean, the argument is that there aren't different frame labels. That, you know, in this plot, you still only have 4 sides.
yeah, I understand. What about people who want different axes on the 2 sides correspond with curves corresponding to the 2 different axes?
So that's next. That's for the future.
Okay, all right,
Yes,
fine.
it's more complications.
But this is an important case here.
Right. So there's one other change we made to several of the functions, list, plot, plots, etc. I don't know if we included them on the list here.
I'd like to play around with this a little bit more, but once it's really supposed to be, you know, in shape.
Yep.
For example, the gap. Right. If I do something, you know, this fill. Whoops. Why did that do column, comma 4? Why did that not work?
Why didn't that work?
Well, seems wrong. Seems
yeah,
like
it's not hard coded at 3 or anything.
Well, that worked, but 4 did not.
What does 5 do?
Yeah, let's find out. It's number theoretic somehow. Oh, that's well, okay. I think 4 didn't like the orphan. You understand? There's going to be a single orphan.
I mean, that shouldn't. I mean, there's a single orphan there.
No, there isn't. Well, there is in rows, but there wasn't a row-wise orphan here. I think it doesn't like the row-wise orphan.
Possibly.
And arguably, it's not completely obvious what the row-wise orphan should do. Should it go to the left? I suppose so.
Yeah.
I'd like to, with these, why don't you try and finish this off, and let's try and get a meeting that involves Jeremy or somebody from design to just look at these one time.
Okay.
But that's very beautiful. All right. Let's.
So before we get to the uncertainty, the other thing that we've been changing is for several of the plots, we've set axes and frame to automatic by default.
Axes and framed.
So right now, you often have the problem, if you put on frame, you have to also turn off axes.
I see.
Okay, and it's really kind of annoying. There's a lot of ugly things. You might want that so you can still do it, but what should the automatic behavior be?
If you switch on framed.
Yeah.
Well, but the axis could be in the middle of the page.
Right, but often you don't want it.
Well, we can't change that behavior. Whatever we've had going for the last 25 years, we should keep going with. Please don't change that. That will break a lot of stuff. Okay?
Okay.
It's okay. We can turn it back on, and then it just means that people have to continue setting 2 options.
I think we should do that for now. You can raise that with me again. Okay, we don't have time to solve that.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay.
Questions from our live stream that are interesting. By the way, somebody's pointing out that multi-column has the same bug apparently.
And 5 gives
totally weird.
Yeah. What the heck?
I think I might actually be using multi-column. No, I'm using.
Well, whatever it is.
Well, so what does partition of range of 9 up to 4 give? Up to 4.
Oh, up to 4.
Right, which is what allows.
Yeah, it's fine.
The dangling.
Humph. Okay. Well, that's a bug. Please, let's get that reported. Who's the keeper of multi-column?
Lou.
Okay, well, report it. Okay, next question here. Can we have more than one data set per plot?
Not now.
Okay, what do we think the syntax is going to be for that?
We don't know.
Not sure yet.
Let's talk about that for a second so we don't cut ourselves off.
I mean, so it's effectively a style of grouping things.
Right. I mean, so I think the two main possibilities are either a set of data sets.
Yeah.
Or
does that mean something already or not?
Not really. I mean, it's certainly not documented.
Okay.
I mean, some of them probably
a plot layout that specifies how things are grouped together.
Right. So some way of saying, 1 and 2 are together, and 3 and 4 are together, and 5, 6, and 7 are together.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, all right. So that's a thing to still be figured out. Well, can't get everything in this particular release. This is already a very nice thing. And I really, really, really like the improvement to graphics grid. We have a question on our live stream. Nice features, move from a static graph to dynamic ones. You can rotate 3D graph, but scale numbers don't dynamically adapt to display resolution when you enlarge a plot.
Sorry?
Nice to, what do you mean scale numbers don't automatically?
Scale numbers.
Nice to put a zoom and drag tools so it adds additional arrows when zoomed in. Oh, I see what you're saying. So, yeah, I mean, the point is that in the current way we're doing things, so with the exception, I mean, to give an example of technology, which hopefully will be added to many things soon, but if you do dynamic geographics, right? This is an example of, I don't know, let's try New York City, for example. Why is this taking forever to load?
I don't know.
There we go. So the question is, wow, it lost some tiles in New Jersey.
I was going to say they're not affected by the hurricane, so.
Fortunately. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, the question is, this type of functionality for plots has long been discussed. I have to say that it keeps on not being as important as one thinks it is going to be. I mean, for something like this.
Having said that, we're talking about, and this is also sort of post 12, but 12.1 probably, to sort of finalize dynamic image and possibly get a dynamic graphics at that very same time.
That would be great. I mean, of course, the other thing we really need is the it's some kind of drawing tools thing like the image tools here. And we have this intern who's supposed to start soon, who's going to try and do a redesign of the graphics tools stuff, drawing tools stuff. Okay.
Who's he going to be working with?
His name is Noah Hardwick, I think. And I think it's going to end up being with Jeremy.
Okay.
We could point him at you too. It's a summer school chap. Okay, let's look at uncertainty plots. Very exciting. Okay,
same magnification thing on those bar charts where the lines are showing up.
Yeah. Okay, so the basic point here is this is so the default error bar function is just the bars.
So the default is the bars with the small crosshatches.
What is crosshatches?
Well, those bars, the lines at the top and the bottom.
Serifs. What are they called? Does the
different names? Hinges.
Hinges is what you have. Fences is box whisker charts. And I forget what the most recent thing I saw for error bars was.
Okay, so what does? Okay, so So what are we calling this? What are we calling this case? Since that's called band and bars, what's this one called?
That is, can you open the DocuTools notebook for error bar function?
Fences. I don't know. Some kind of Western motif. I don't know. Is that they
I mean, it could be automatic for, you know.
No, it just would be nice to have. I mean, it's like end caps of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Ends. No.
Caps.
You don't expect a cap to be flat unless it's a mortarboard.
I don't think we should call it mortarboard. So.
No, I don't think so either. Why is it called fences anyway?
Because it sort of encloses the.
I actually predict that's not the reason. I predict that's because of some typesetters convention. There are things called fences in typesetting. I mean, in like lead typesetting.
Maybe.
I believe that those are what absolute value signs are called. For there used to be these names that required no understanding of what the things meant that were used for lead typesetting type stuff.
Okay.
Why is it called band as opposed to filling or filled?
So they're called error bands, typically, when you have a curve.
Yeah, I understand when you have a curve, but what? I think filled would be a better term here. Although,
I mean, if you look at the case that has it set, it is a curve thing.
I understand. Okay, fair enough. The other complaint I have is plurals versus singulars here. Ellipse or ellipses, right? Is it point? No, it's. Oh, I see. It's a single ellipse. Oh my goodness sake. Okay, so that prejudices the question of what kind of fence it is.
Right.
How can it be called bars?
It should be bar then. Yes.
No, but that doesn't make sense either because it's bar. Oh boy.
I mean, we can do all plural or all singular if.
Well, I think we should just think about these names. Let's have a little look at what else you've got here, and then let's go back to these names. Mm-hmm. First question is the very thing error bar function. I mean, we've got three words running around. One of them is around, one of them is uncertainty, and one of them is error. Now, I agree that these are always called error bars, not uncertainty bars or anything.
Right.
I was going to say,
and the other thing is that we will have other things than around that you want to visualize as error bars. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay, fair enough. But in that case, if you say error bar, you cannot have a thing called bars here. That has got to be none. Look, if this basically says, these are really the ends of the curves mostly.
Well, I was going to say, so the thing that occurs to me just now looking at that table is, oh, actually, I guess it's in the table above, is that, you know, there's also none, which is, yes, I know you have uncertainty. I don't care.
Yeah, I understand. So that's not going to work for this. Okay, so I'm thinking, this is not very good, flat ends, point ends. I don't think end is the right word. But those three, let's look in the literature. Let's ask Jose whether there are some other names for these.
Okay.
I don't really. No ends is a horrible, horrible construct.
Open, closed.
It's an interesting idea. I don't think that necessarily. I mean, that's kind of like an. Is that really a closed interval looking thing? Where I don't know which one is closed here.
Well, I mean, I would be happy getting rid of points if it, was the odd man out in terms of naming.
No, I wouldn't. I know we want that. I mean, that's useful.
Okay.
Somebody is suggesting limit bars. Yeah, because these are at the limits. Well, of some kind of limit. I mean, they're not really at the limits. They're at the 1 sigma point, maybe, or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends on what the thing is. If it's an interval, then that these are coming from, then it really is a limit.
Yeah. I mean, do we really want to call it error bar function as opposed to, interval display function or something?
I'm not super happy with error bar because here's the basic point is that we're going to have to systematically work through most of our viz functions and figure out how to visualize uncertainty. It's going to take a while. And so...
Yeah, and many of them will not be bars.
Right.
Correctly, And so one thing that you see is that it always adds sort of a dimension to it. So in the case you start with a 0-dimensional entity, like a point, becomes a line entity.
Yes.
It becomes a 1-dimensional thing. You start with a curve, you create this strip or this band, and it becomes
a tube. Or a tube.
In 3D, you might dimension it up all the way to a tube.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, but that phenomena happens everywhere. Whatever dimension.
So it's more like error display function or uncertainty display function. If we think it's always uncertainty.
I want something that sort of is not necessarily coupled to uncertainty. Well, the question is how close we get to uncertainty.
Yeah. Extended display function, those are totally obscure. Someone is suggesting error markers. That's not terrible. If we're going to go for error, that's probably better than... Yes, it's probably better. It's more analogous to plot markers. And that would allow us, if we wanted to do something like interval markers. Although I don't really like that very much. I think we should say this is primarily for a round. What else do you have in mind that this might be for, Roger? Because I think we're planning on doing...
Lots of things, okay? So one thing that you have is that, let's say that you have a model. It has it has parameters in it. You want to compute what comes out, what variation comes out. It might be it might be sort of they're all related in some sense, but they don't have that strict statistical interpretation that a round has, which is just one notion.
Yeah, well, let me give you another case. How do you deal with timeline plot when you have an interval in timeline plot? What option governs the way the interval is rendered?
Timeline plot. I mean, I don't think there is an option for that. I mean, I think it just always draws as, from start to end.
Okay. But so that's a case, though, which is an analogous situation. Yeah. So, I mean, the indicators of those things. For example, I could imagine, actually, that's an interesting point. I mean, the open and closed intervals business for timeline plot, I can imagine, since you have these very beautiful open dots, you could close those dots. But okay, so look, there's an interval there. There's an interval By the way, what are you doing when there's uncertainty in both the x and y coordinates? You've got a cross then?
Cross, or that's where the ellipse comes in.
Okay. Okay, let's do one more round on this with Jose, because he knows the literature on what's okay. And I think of the things I've seen so far,
I sort of like interval markers.
it's not terrible.
I mean, it's certainly much more generic and not imposing a view on the world sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it would allow us to, if in the future we actually allowed intervals in list plot, which we could, couldn't we?
I think it's in there.
Really? Well, how does it display?
Same way.
What, with error bars?
Mhm.
That's pretty weird. I mean, because its default should not be the same.
It may have a different default. It may not have the cross things that the fences. I don't remember if Normal's hooked that, has done that or not. Okay, still does.
Fenced.
Yeah.
Well, that's very nice. And that, again, argues for some kind of interval markers. But don't fence it. I mean, in fact, those intervals shouldn't have a point in the middle either.
Getting rid of the point is harder.
Well, that is sort of the point, so to speak.
Yes.
Not to. It should be gotten rid of. Maybe it'll be a bug for this version.
Yep.
And that probably could be controlled from interval markers as well, whether there is a point there or not.
Right. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Let's just have a quick preview of this because this is exciting. Yeah, magnificent. We've wanted this for millions of years. 30 years, actually. I mean, we've had versions of this, obviously, for all that time. Huh. Okay, very nice. Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful. So these are going to be in there for 12.
Mm-hmm.
As experimental or what?
I don't think they need to be experimental.
Yeah, I think they're fine.
Okay, well, I want to talk a little bit about the color maps for this.
Yes. You might want to open the next section because that's going to be all color maps. Actually, the pages. Let's go to the source ref pages. That's why it's not many more things in here.
I would have expected complex plots to be something different.
I mean, I'm open to, renaming things.
And also, I would also bring up, Stephen, complex plot 3D at the same time.
Okay. This is great. I didn't know this was coming. I mean, I've been wanting this for like millions of years, but.
Scroll down to examples, maybe.
Well, that's magnificent. Okay. So
one feature of complex plot that I think you need to see is the ability to I want to see more of these color maps. So basically, we're introducing a 2D color map. Okay, so the default ones are done.
Most are one parameter families.
Yes, so we're introducing a 2-parameter family or 2-parameter families.
Yeah,
in a way, it's not. It's somewhat factored.
It is factored.
Because it's height versus the. Right, and this is a kind of a weird object, which I think
we're still working on the legends. I'm pretty sure it's going to go to a normal bar legend. It goes from minus pi.
Yeah, I don't know. It's cool to have it be circular like that.
The circle is cool, but it just takes up so much space.
Well, then make it smaller. Because you get the point.
Other reasons.
What do you mean you have other reasons? That's suspicious.
Well, coming back to the two, so when you have, something that's affected by the height as well.
We'll talk about. I think you should do this circular thing. I think it's really nice to show the circularity of the thing. But let's talk about. Okay, so complex list plot versus complex plot. You see, that's so weird that it. Or no, actually, it isn't weird. It's the same thing. I'm confused. I see what you're saying. So that. I see. It's like contour plot or something. It makes a. Well, it isn't.
No. That's just taking a bunch of complex numbers and.
I know. I'm putting them in the complex plane.
Right.
And complex plot 3D, it's just kind of weird because it's the absolute value is being plotted.
So you have 4 dimensions, right? There's 4 dimensions that you need to cover one way or another.
Yeah, but what happens if I'm plotting? So I'm plotting as a function of a complex number. So what happens if I just want to plot abs as a function of the complex number? So if I do this and I simply say, okay, so let's just try this. If I say complex plot of abs of cosine of z,
it'll be constant.
Why?
Because the color is based on the argument.
That doesn't make sense. I mean, what should happen here, in my view, in this case, is that the abs is somehow the gray level, and the color, the tint of the thing is the arg. That would be what I would expect here.
That's what we have that too. Okay. If you scroll down on complex plot to examples. Where are those? Here's one.
Okay, yeah. So do that one, but knock out the arg part of it. So just Weggard abs.
What's Weggard?
This guy that came up with this scheme.
There are multiple such schemes.
Yes.
I don't think we should. I mean, I think we should genericize the.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
No. We have. Okay, these are old examples.
It's just the code isn't caught up with the docs.
Okay.
So what you have here is.
That's very nice. That's very nice. Whatever you have here is very nice, because this, if I were to put an abs in there, this would just do the right thing, right?
It would be constant and shaded.
Yeah, which is perfectly reasonable. I mean, I would pick the default color in this case to be not quite as devilish as this, so to speak. In other words, I would pick the default color map to be such that that's a much more muted color. Does that make sense?
No.
What's that?
I mean, so what happens is, in this case, I mean, you are still visualizing the absolute and the arg.
I realize that. And the arg happens to be 0. And I'm saying you should rotate your color rainbow so that 0 is not such a bright color. Probably. You want 0 to be a distinguished color, but not necessarily this color. Right? If it was the yellow, for example, this would look a lot better. This is a graphic design issue. Let's get those guys. But this is beautiful. What this does is the right default, in my opinion. Definitively the right default. Or something like this.
So the top one or the bottom one?
Of which? Of these two?
Right. I mean, so
top
do
one.
you want the rainbow shape, the thing colored by?
Yeah, I want the gray level to be the abs, and the hue to be. I mean, it's basically like hue, saturation, brightness, and the hue should be the arg. Now, okay, so there's 3 parameters here, right? And the good news is that color space is 3-dimensional. And I'm suggesting using a parameterization where the abs determines the brightness.
That's what we have. It's actually values. It's HSV. It's not HSB,
fine.
but
okay, fine.
Same thing.
So HSV. So then what you're saying is the direction. No, that's you only need 2 parameters, right? Because you need the direction of the ab.
Yes, but the point is to make it perceptually. Those 3 parameters in that color model you can't perceive necessarily.
No, I understand. I think this is very successful. I think that picture is really good.
Right. I mean, so the other thing to keep in mind here is that light to dark shading is being done cyclically on sort of a log scale.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. No, I mean it is good.
Well,
we have one that isn't, but we have examples of that. We have that, you can pick that, but it's not as successful.
All right. Can we get another meeting which involves graphic design folk for this thing?
Sure.
But this is wonderful. These are really cool pictures. Also, doesn't Michael Trott have lots of experience with complex plotting?
They're a little bit weird.
I mean, a lot of, especially with the Riemann surfaces.
It's a little bit weird, Stephen. I mean, they're sort of exhaustive in some weird way.
Okay, let's get him in the next meeting we have about this, if we could. Okay. Well, so look, I mean, I could cancel this meeting that I have right now, but I would prefer to do it, and come back to this one more time.
I figured that we would need one more session anyway. Just for
fine.
Yep.
Fine. There's some wonderful stuff here. Well done. I mean, it's I'm really glad we got these complex plots. That's very, very nice. But although clearly more thought is required here. Okay. Well, great. And thank you to folks on the live stream. This was all right. We are at the end of our marathon, 4 back-to-back design reviews that are live streamed, and I just get to go off and do other kinds of meetings of no public interest here.
I was gonna say you're not live streaming until 3 a.m.
I could, but
I was gonna say if you're gonna do a marathon, do a marathon.
Yeah, right. Okay, great stuff. To be continued.
Okay.
Thanks all. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.